Laura's like, I went from the Star Wars ride to you bozos.
I wish. I did see Christine. It was great.
I know, that was so good.
It was great. She met up with me. It was wonderful.
I'm almost all back together. The only thing is when I blink normally, this eye still doesn't blink, but my smile's almost normal and everything else. I don't have to tape my eye closed at night anymore, which is like,
so
that was
the cool micro expressions. Do it now before.
Yeah, exactly. I need to get my hair cut at this point, not later. Okay, everybody ready?
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. It is Friday, May 17th, 2019. I'm Micah Sargent, and right now we are going to talk about iPhone 11R, iPhone 10 plus 1R, iPhone R pirate rumors, something. It's the next iPhone. It's got colors, and we're going to talk about it. We're also going to talk about the Apple TV app getting an update, iPhone's patent for Touch ID and Face ID, the awesome new watch faces, and so much more, because this is the iMore Show. I should say joining us this week is Micah Sargent. I feel like we all haven't seen each other in a little while.
I know.
And it's kind of nice to get the gang back together, even though Georgia couldn't join us this week, and we do miss her. Folks, thanks for being patient, and I think too, kind of enjoying the shifts in the hosts that we have. In fact, there was a great show with Megan Maroney, Lori Gill, and Georgia Dow.
That was a great
moment. I don't want to spoil it, but it was like that moment when A-Force just walks out for the first time.
Pretty awesome. You should definitely check out that episode if you haven't.
Georgia would be She-Hulk, Lori would be Captain Marvel, and Megan, I'm not sure, maybe Scarlet Witch. I don't know. Maybe Georgia would be Scarlet Witch and Megan would be, I don't know, but it was awesome.
Our casting director today, all the way from Canada, is Renee Ritchie. How you doing, Renee?
Good. I'm doing real good. It's so good to be back. I've been waiting to talk to you guys. This is amazing.
Yeah, and for my first time seeing the awesome new color of Lori, you always have great hair, and I am enjoying this nice addition to it. How you doing, LG?
This is my new look for the new color iPhone 11.
They totally copied you. Right? Totally copied you.
They said, okay, if Lori's doing color, we have to as well.
Johnny's like, what we're gonna do is we're gonna wait until Lori decides on what the new color is for the and then we're totally gonna replace that coral iPhone with Lori's color.
I think over the next few months I'm gonna change my hair color to match whatever the rumored color is for the new.
Please do forest green. I see there's a green, but it's not my green.
It's like lime green. Is that what it is? Would you classify it as lime green?
I'd give it that moniker, as it were. Let's talk about this. This is the iPhone 11R. Is it the iPhone 11 10R?
iPhone 10R2, iPhone 11R, iPhone R.
iPhone. We've seen some broken glass in multiple colors, and
Mark Gurman's glass is always half broken.
That's an interesting way to do a little bit of a leak there, I think. But it gives some insight into what these back glass colors might include. And I saw there was a green color in there, and someone asked me, "Is this the green that you wanted?" And sadly, it is not.
So is it worth? Let me ask, because this fascinates me psychologically. Would you have preferred because I'm feeling the same way about purple. I've been wanting a purple iPhone forever, but this is a more lavender purple than I really hoped for. Mm-hmm. So would it be better not to get the colors we want than to get the wrong shade of the colors we want at all?
Holy moly. For me, no. And the reason why is because if these colors do well, then they continue to do colors, and then maybe, just maybe, I'll get a color eventually. So I'm all about, when I say meh about the color, it is simply meh in the sense that it's not something that I want. But as far as I'm not poo-pooing the idea overall. I'm celebrating the fact that we have these nice, lovely colors because it means that, they're still doing that. And I think that's important to keep that going.
Is it that the presumable black back glass color is too muted for you? Do you want your color to be brighter?
Oh, and and that's the other thing is that someone, always points out, but Micah, don't you put a case on it? I do. So it really doesn't matter at the end of the day.
So I have another question. Is because the glass is hard to tell because Apple does multi-layered finishes. Like there's like 6 different layers of color. So I'm holding up against hope because right now it's sort of Thanos purple and like Hulk green. But I'm wondering if when we see it layered and on a back plate where there's not light coming through it or bouncing off the surface and back out of it, whether it'll be a little bit deeper. Or is your basic problem that it's too much towards a yellow green and not enough towards a blue green?
What you said first there, deeper is what I want.
Yeah.
I want deeper. Because right now it's like, for me, it looks kind of mint green or Squidward green. And what I love, I've talked about this before, it's that iPod Nano that was sort of like a very long rectangle and it did video, and it was this beautiful deep and like shiny green that was really lovely, and I miss that sort of darker green. And Apple's handling or labeling of greens have not been great because allegedly this is a green case, and to me it's blue as can be. And so that's frustrating to me, that it is not, that they call things green that I feel are not green.
It's got 0.1% yellow in it, therefore it is green.
It can be none more green. No, it can be lots more green. Thank you.
What do we think about losing? Because I like the blue and I kind of like the coral, and we're losing those, but we're keeping the yellow and we're keeping the product red. So we never get the full rainbow. There's always like a couple colors being cycled out.
Well, I think that's a great way to, everybody wants to show off that they've got the new version of something. And what better way to do that than to have exclusive colors every year? It's sort of like getting the new fall color instead of the new fall phone. So the idea being that, if I have the mint green or the Hulk green iPhone 11, 10R, or whatever you want to call it, then that means I've got the newest one. But if I've got the blue one, that means I got last year's model. So I'm not as good, So I like the idea.
And second lens this year to show off that you have.
That's true. That's true. Those double lenses.
Surprise emoji.
That was a lovely little bit there. I think that, having these new colors are fun, and it's interesting. I understand why they kept product red. I think is it the yellow one? I wonder, in theory, people must really like that color. I think it's kind of awful, honestly. Personally, the yellow is not for me. But then, like I said, every time, I don't end up seeing any of the color through the case regardless. So the color isn't so much of a concern. But I still like the fact that it's out there, and that folks who do, step precariously through the night with their cases or with no cases on their phone can show off these colors or whatever happens to be their favorite one among them.
If you look at the pictures of the broken glass and you see the sort of light muted frost color and compare the yellow, for example, to the current yellow iPhone 10R, it's definitely going to be much brighter than that glass shows. So I think the colors are going to be a lot deeper.
Yeah, I agree with what kind of Renee had pointed out. When they're all layered and they have them, against something that doesn't necessarily reflect light a certain way and aren't taken very sneakily and what have you, then I'm sure they're going to look different. And it will be, I think, a situation where you don't know until you know, and you go and look at them. Because people have talked about this before, and something that I've noted time and time again, the way that Apple's watch bands look in the promotional materials and on their website, those colors are so much different than how they end up looking in real life. Never fails that they are totally different from being online and how you see them in person. And so I think that it really is just a matter of having to go, and because you've got some that's rendered and some that are actual photos, and you never know.
And none of them have the materials or the refraction rate or all of the material, everything that makes it a physical object.
Exactly. And all the different screens too. I mean, depending on where you're looking at it, it can change when we're talking about color here. And yes, you might have, you're running a Mac OS that's got great color management on it, but do you have the best, external displays or the best, whatever device you happen to be using? Are you looking at the iPhone XR glass or iPhone 11R glass on an iPhone 11R? No. So
are you punk? Do you feel lucky?
Do you feel lucky, punk? So yeah, I mean, we don't know really how it's going to look whenever you actually get to hold it and feel it and rub it and love it.
It's so interesting to me because since the iPhone XR came out, we've had the Samsung Galaxy 10e, which is similar to the 10R, but has it's like Samsung. It's like spec crazy OLED screens and everything. Doesn't have a fingerprint reader in the screen, but does have it on the side. All those things. Then the Google Pixel 3e, 3A. Sorry, too many letters in these damn companies are using. I just call it the Pixel Mini. Just do that. The Google Pixel 3A, which has the Pixel camera, but has like a crappy processor, but it's down for like $400, which is like half the price of most modern flagships, if not way less. And then we just had the OnePlus 7 Pro come out, which is about the iPhone XR price, but they've got a really good screen, but not a really good camera. And we're still like sacrificing, and different nerds are happy to sacrifice on different things. Like the Pixel, they love the camera, but I mean, the camera on the Pixel 3 is already slow. I just can't believe how slow it must be on the Pixel 3a. But the iPhone has a great processor, but the camera is not as good. And then the OnePlus has a great screen, not the great camera, but I think it's got a good processor. I'm waiting for someone, like the two things I want are the camera and the processor. The iPhone XR screen is gorgeous. I don't care about not 1080p in 2019. Go sit in the corner. You don't understand how screens work. So I'm fine with that. But I just want both the camera and the processor, and no one's given me that yet.
Well, it looks like from the rumors, we're gonna get a better camera for the 11R. Not as good as
the 10s camera, yeah, but not the 11
it
camera.
won't be what the 2019 iPhone 10. Oh, there's
just stop it, right?
The premium iPhone, it won't have the same camera.
The 11.
The 11, yeah, but it'll be as good as the 10s, which I think is a huge improvement. I think, obviously, if the 10s camera were in the 10R right now, nobody would be complaining about it. So if the 10s camera is in the 11R, nobody should be complaining about it. They should be happy to have it. And I think
like every year there's like something like this year's night vision. Why isn't there night vision? Where's night vision? Where's Apple's answer to night vision? And I know that's mostly a media thing. It's because like we're nerds and Google has it, and now Huawei has a different version of it, and where's Apple's version of it? But Apple had portrait mode for a while, and then everybody got portrait mode. And I feel like Google had night vision for a while. Everyone's going to get night vision. So
yeah, I mean, that would be great it'd be great if Apple does implement some sort of software enhancement for nighttime photos. That's the thing about the Google phone is the night. Is it called night vision or night shift?
Night sight, I think.
Night sight. That sounds right.
They're all different names. I can't keep track.
They're just using software in the background to enhance the photo at night, so it doesn't have all that noise and grain, and it really brings out some brighter colors.
The philosophy is so different. Like Apple does not, and you can think this is stupid, but Apple does not want a post-process. They want everything done live, and they want the minute you take that photo, if you be able to hit the button and the photo's there and looks exactly the way you took the photo. Where Google, for portrait mode and for night sight, they're like, tap that button and then open that photo, and it won't look like anything. And then you'll wait and it'll spin around, and then like a few seconds later, you'll see your photo. And Apple hates that, but it lets Google do things like their version of portrait mode and their version of night vision. And Huawei, I like the Huawei approach. And I think it's sort of like what Apple does with Panorama, because Panorama isn't real time, but they make you part of the process. Like you have to move the camera. And I'd love that with night vision. Like you have to hold the camera, and it'll say, hold it, like it's doing a time lapse or it's doing a countdown or something. Like hold it, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, boom. And then you have the finished picture, like to trick you into being part of the experience so you don't feel like you're waiting.
Yeah,
that would be my answer to how Apple should do it.
Because I think, you've got the philosophy there of sort of it's interesting because I can remember as a kid, you had to wait until you took your camera to the pharmacy and got the photos developed before you could ever see them. So like you used to have to wait a long time before you could see the photos. And then we went to, digital cameras that let you see them right as you took them. You hit the button and previews right there. And so I feel, that the camera phones are trying to do the same thing. And Apple seems to be holding to that. Whereas Google, on the other hand, is more going back to that, send it off to the pharmacy right quick and we'll do all this processing on it and then you can see your photo. And I think that, depending on what you're getting out of it, there are pros and cons to both things. And I would love it if you did get, that live shot immediately get to see. Now, Renee, is it still the case? I remember before when portrait mode first came out and you saw the live shot, they did a blurring effect, but it was different from the final blurring effect. Like the final blurring effect was better, but it gave you a preview that was similar with like depth of field. And I can't remember where I was reading about this, but it was essentially like, we'll apply what we think it's going to look like, but truly in the end, the photo might turn out better because our like post-process kind of blurring effect for portrait mode looks a lot better than just this preview of it. Is that still the case for Apple, or is it, what you see is what you get fully because we've got processors to handle that now?
Yeah, I think it's not quite either of those things. I think they've always tried to have a simple pipeline. Like I believe a lot of other camera phones, what you see is a completely separate pipeline than what you get. They're not related at all. And I think Apple's tried to have a unified pipeline. So it's not that what you're getting isn't what you see. It's just that what you see is moving around, like has all those micro movements from your hands and from the stabilization. So it's never finalized. It's sort of like always dynamic, always in motion. But for me, it does let me do things like, I'm trying to take a picture of Micah, but his ear is a little blurry and I can just move it a little bit. And then, the ear, like it's fixed the ear now.
Yeah.
Where when I was taking it with the Pixel, I was like, boom, if only, boom, and then I'm waiting each time and I have to go back. I can't just move a little bit and shoot, which is a very different experience. And the results are great, but I like to be part of the process.
Yeah, because then you can fix things that you see are broken. And I think the big thing, that folks talk about, it's a lot of people are using, their camera phone truly is the phone that they have with them all the time. And they are taking photos of moments in their life, and moments are fleeting. And if you are waiting on a camera to process a photo to tell if you got that shot of your child taking their first step, or your eldest son trying to blink, but he can only blink with one eye, or whatever. If you're waiting on the Google Pixel phone to process the photo, then you don't know if you got it or you didn't. And those moments, pass on by. So I definitely do like that. And like you said, sort of, you get to be part of the process and you feel more in control. Whereas it's almost, it can be kind of disheartening. It's like, how do I go about taking a good photo? Because every time I take a photo and wait, there's always something that's out of focus or what have you. You feel like you can actually do something to make a difference, I think, in the quality of the photo whenever you have more of a live preview.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure their workflows adapt, but yeah. Sorry.
I think it would be okay though if it were like a filter, like adding a sepia tone. If you could add a night sight tone after the fact, and maybe it wouldn't be quite the dynamic experience that maybe the Pixel phone has, but it's not something that you have to wait for in the same way. Like it's sort of. It'd be like intended to be something that you do post-process instead of something you expect to happen right away. Like maybe the difference in the user experience has to do with the way Pixel presents what is basically a filter on top of an image, and maybe Apple's way of kind of making that same idea work is to say, well, it's not a live photo of it's not a live preview of what you're taking, but after the fact you can plop on this extra filter that would bring out the brights and get rid of some of the noise.
Just how live photo long exposure works now.
Yeah.
Okay, solved it.
Yeah, it's solved.
Lori just solved it. Thank you, Cupertino.
So that is iPhone 11, 10, R2 plus 6
B2.
equals 8. Any last thoughts on that?
Yeah,
All right.
what's the name? What's the naming gonna be? I really do want to know, like, what's your prediction on the name? For reals,
God.
I
not
have
the
no
joke.
prediction. I don't know.
I think it should be 11R, but you never know what Apple's going to swerve.
I
Yeah.
know. I'm gonna make my prediction here too, Renee, that Apple's not gonna stick with the 10 naming scheme. They're just gonna move on to 11 in the next round.
Apple
Putting
takes
my money on it right
11.
now.
All right, down.
There it is. I will be the ref, I guess, or the judge.
You sold all the money.
Exactly. All right, folks. I would like to tell you about our pals at Eero, who have brought you this episode of the iMore Show. With Eero, you can build a Wi-Fi system for your home that is perfectly tailored to the way that your home is set up. You think about all of the bandwidth that you need in your house, all of these different devices, all of these different smart home stuffs. Your dogs have smartphones now and they're trying to get connected while you're trying to get connected. You got a Wi-Fi connected coffee pot, everything. You need a distributed system to make sure you get the best speeds available. With Eero, you get an enterprise-grade Wi-Fi system in your home in no time at all. And it all starts with Eero's new second-generation device. It's got 3 5 gigahertz radios. Wow, so you get more speed and more range, and it sits nice and flat on any surface, connects over Ethernet or wirelessly. You can easily expand your coverage throughout your home by adding Eero beacons. What are those? Well, these are these small devices that plug into your wall and they let you connect that Wi-Fi all throughout your home. So your whole home is blanketed in the beauty that is Wi-Fi. And now Eero also has Eero Plus. It gives you simple and reliable security to help defend all the devices in your home. That's going to keep you safe from malware, phishing, and other unsuitable content. It also offers ad blocking functionality so that you can block ads at the router level. So any devices that connect are also sort of included in that. You can use Eero Plus to check sites so that you don't visit any sites that are known for malware problems. And with the subscription to Eero Plus, you get 1Password for password management, malware bytes for antivirus solutions, and Encrypt Me, a VPN software. All of that with Eero Plus. Pretty doggone awesome. I've got an Eero system in my home. And in fact, setting it up in the new place and sort of plugging everything in was super easy. And it blanketed the home in Wi-Fi. It's fantastic. I love it. It's truly one of the best Wi-Fi systems that I've used. And I'm no looking back for sure. So if you would like to check out Eero yourself, head to Eero.com/iMore. That's Eero.com/IMORE. Never think about Wi-Fi again. Get $100 off the Eero base unit and 2 beacons package and 1 year of Eero Plus included. Visit Eero.com/iMore and at checkout, enter the code iMore. Thanks so much to Eero for sponsoring this week's episode of the iMore Show. Let's talk about Apple TV app. It's got an update of what it's now available on smart TVs and things. Is that what's going on here?
Starting.
Yeah. So I recorded a podcast earlier this week, and I think it published today with my pal, Joe Rosensteel. And we had our friend, Dan Sturm on because he has one of these televisions that has the Apple TV app.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So it's kind of fun to see, how his experience has been. And he talked a little bit about it. And how it differs from having, an actual Apple TV. And that was kind of one of the big things for me is that I hadn't really put 2 and 2 together to think about the differences between this is an app versus this is like a whole, because an example of this, Roku often will pair with different television manufacturers and they'll sort of bake a Roku box into the television. And for this is genuinely just an app. And so you have to think of it in that way, in the sense that it doesn't offer the same sort of HomeKit connectivity and connections through AirPlay and things like that. It's a little bit different. And so you have to sort of understand whether you've got a television that supports AirPlay 2, if it's just the app, and how all of that can change your experience for it.
Yeah,
awesome.
I mean, assuming that it's just the I mean, the with the idea being that it's just the Apple TV app, there's obviously a lot of things that won't be included. I think I could be wrong. Netflix is not a part of the Apple TV app, correct?
I believe
So-
that's true.
So
Yeah.
what they basically did was take literally the TV app from the Apple TV. So it has nothing to do with any other app on the Apple TV. And some poor bastard or groups of bastards at Cupertino had to recode it in Tizen to run on Samsung TVs. And that's all it does right now. The Apple TV app runs on Tizen Samsung TVs. All the 2019 models, select 2018 model, which that just means not yours. Like if you got one, it's always going to be not yours.
It's definitely
Your
not
neighbor
yours.
will be
Yeah.
fine. It won't be yours. You just like, it looks like the little Apple TV logo. You click on it and you see everything that you would see from Apple in the Apple TV app. So there's no like, if you like Netflix and Hulu, those have other apps on your Tizen TV. So they're not part of the Apple TV app. It's just if you always wanted your iTunes stuff on someone else's TV. And the forthcoming TV Plus stuff when it launches in September, this will be your gateway to that.
Yeah, so it's actually a way to get the movies that you buy from iTunes, for example, right on your TV without needing an Apple TV to watch it, or without needing to connect your computer somehow to your television set.
And only for Samsung. For the other ones, all they've done so far is enable AirPlay 2, and that's not even out yet. The Samsung has both the TV app and the AirPlay 2 features. It looks really good, though. I got to try both of them. I think it was a Vizio TV that had it set up. And you get this nice little interface on your lock screen, or you can go to the app, and you start it on your phone or your iPad or whatever, and you press the button, and then you control it just like you would control something on your Apple TV, but it's streaming from your phone instead. And it has like wonderful little controls. You can pick any of the stuff that you'd watch on your phone. And some people are like, why would I AirPlay it and not just do it on my TV? Dumb Apple nerd. And one of the reasons is that, like, let's say I go to Lori's house and I have a service she doesn't have. I don't want to install it. I don't want to log in with my credentials because all these companies are like, you have one screen access, but you have two screen accesses. You have one location access. Why is this different? You just stream it from your thing. You don't have to worry about it. You're babysitting, you're house sitting, you're dog sitting, you're visiting. You have the UFC app and you go into a friend's house for the party and you've already paid for it. Whatever. Just press that button, takes over their screens. No fuss, no muss. You're watching your TV and you're not complaining about it on the internet, which is the way life's supposed to be.
Yeah, so what I also am wondering in that way, how good is there a significant lag? Is there an issue with that? And Renee, it sounds like you had a chance, and obviously it was probably in a controlled environment where they weren't going to, they were going to make sure that it didn't lag as much as possible. But did you notice anything like that?
There's a good and bad part about being in a demo area, because demo areas are often saturated as well. It took a little while to launch. But that's the thing with AirPlay. It's always been sort of really buffer heavy because they don't want it to stop once it has launched. So it'll typically take a little bit longer to start. And that was why people were initially worried, like, will there be like audio and video problems because one is lagging? No, like that stuff is super solid. It just will take it. And then it depends on your Wi-Fi network. Like if your Wi-Fi network is congested, it'll screw it up. So that's like one of the potential downsides.
Mm-hmm. But for the most part, what you can tell from it is if your Wi-Fi connection is good, you will launch slow, but that's because it's buffering ahead of time instead of in the middle of your Game of Thrones episode. And then you'll be able to just stream straight through without any kind of lip sync issue or anything like that.
And the one thing that's really cool, we still don't have handoff. I mean, it's been like 5 years and there's still no handoff for media, but it's super close at this point because wherever you left off with whatever you were doing on the TV app or on your phone, it'll just pick up there no matter where else you go. So you're in your bedroom, you're watching the Samsung TV and you turn it off and you go downstairs, you start getting ready and you have your iPad with you. You just hit play and it keeps going wherever you were. You go downstairs, you hit stop, you hit play on your Apple TV and the living room keeps playing. Then you have to go out and catch the bus. You pick up your iPhone and you're like halfway through, Wonder Woman or whatever it was that you were watching, and you don't have to worry about it. And it's always continuing from the same place.
Yeah, it's getting a little bit closer. It is interesting that they won't just make hand off for media, though. There must be some kind of
It's
contractual
like the
reasons
closest
why
thing.
that's
Only
not
reason I
allowed.
want handoff is because then it would have an icon in the dock. So I knew I was watching TV. I can just hit that icon and now I have to like an animal, open the home screen and go look for the TV app, or like
Yeah.
click down to the TV app.
Mhm.
That would be nice to do the full, and like then you've got AirPods and things like that, and it's just seamless switching between those.
My favorite thing, I know it's not related, but it came out at the same time. It was like, I think a month. It was when AirPods 2 came out. They added Yo Siri or Yo Jimbo, whatever you want to call it, HS. Play this on, and so you can just say to any of these devices, play Wonder Woman on my Samsung, like, because you give them HomeKit names. So when the TVs get added to your HomeKit setup when you enable all this, and you can say play Wonder Woman on my bedroom TV, play Avengers Infinity War on my living room TV, play this on, and it takes care of it. It just spins up and you're watching it. And so you can just have your AirPods in. That can be your whole point of Siri, and just say, Yo Jimbo, play Infinity War. TV lights up, Infinity War comes on, and you're good to go.
I've done
And
that
if you
with,
use the Siri shortcut, you can actually like set all of your lights and air conditioning and everything to set that. I bet, huh?
Yeah,
beautiful.
Yeah.
And I've done that with my Apple TV. I was testing that for The Office, and so I was able to say, play The Office on, and then said the name of the Apple TV that I had in my living room. And because it's got HDMI CEC, it turned on the television, and then it started, launched. I think Netflix was its choice, and then played The Office, and it was like, this is what I wanted all along. So I was very happy about that.
I do miss that Netflix is not playing nicely with all of this. And I get it. Netflix thinks that they're so big that they don't want to be part. So like, just to back up for a second, the big problem with video, unlike music, is you can't just get everything from everywhere. Like if music, it doesn't matter if you want Apple Music or Google Music or Spotify, you generally get almost all popular music in one place. So you can reasonably expect to get any song you want anytime you want. And video is not like that. You have like Netflix and Hulu, and some shows are like exclusive to some platforms, some catalog content, and you've got to subscribe to each one, which not only makes it expensive, but it means like just as a normal human, I have no idea what shows on what network most of the time. I have to go and like type it in. Who can you stream this? Like again, like an animal. So Apple can't fix the underlying problem. They can't make Apple Video that just works like Apple Music, because no one will give them the rights to do that. So what they've done is make like this layer on top of it that just sort of brings in all the pipes and gives you a unified interface and experience. And that means I don't have to care anymore what channel it's on. I just look for it in the TV app and it's there, and it'll pull it from Hulu, or it'll pull it from Apple TV, or it'll pull it from whatever other service you happen to be using. But Netflix wants no part of this. They want us to still go to the Netflix app and use the Netflix experience. And I get it, because they're big and they're powerful, but it's worse for customers. And I can't help but think that everyone is big at some point, but no one's ever big forever. And like with Disney Plus coming on like Captain Marvel, it's like when you go dee, what happened? There's something burning up the atmosphere. That is Disney Plus on its way. And I think it would behoove Netflix to be as good a customer experience as possible. Because I never thought I'd say this, but I am so close to canceling Netflix. They keep raising the prices and losing content. And Disney's taking all their stuff back, and their prices keep getting higher. And not all the original shows really appeal to me. So, I'm going to go all in on Disney Plus, because they're going to have all the Marvel stuff, all the Star Wars stuff. I think Netflix's best shot is to be everywhere their customers want them to be.
In fact, Hulu is probably a great example for what Netflix should be trying to do right now. They are purposefully positioning themselves as, we may not have everything, but we're super inexpensive and we're available everywhere. And that makes Hulu more appealing than it used to be. I actually pay for both of them, Hulu and Netflix. And I almost canceled Hulu just because I wasn't using it that much, but I find myself going to it more and more. And now that it's cheaper than ever and it's still available and accessible from all the ways that I like to watch things, I tend to use Hulu more, and I'm starting to feel just like you, Renee, that Netflix is not worth the money that I'm spending on it. It does have some great original shows, but that there's a point where the great original shows aren't really balancing out the cost and the inconvenience that you have to deal with.
I just got a notification
where you subscribe and unsubscribe when you want a show or want.
I just got a notification the other day from Spotify that said, "Hey, now Hulu is included in your premium subscription to Spotify." And I was like, what? Really? That's wild. And so Hulu's just doing whatever it can to be everywhere. And I think that's
I got
hilarious.
Crave. Crave is the Canadian version of Hulu, and I got it for free because I use Rogers or something. I forget what it was.
It seems like they're all kind of tied in somewhere where you can just, oh, okay, well, I guess I don't need to pay for that anymore because I'm already getting it with this.
So one thing I should add is that while like Apple TV Plus and the different stuff is coming in the fall, the experience is in 100 countries now. It went from 10 countries to 100 countries. So basically anyone who had the iTunes movie app now has the TV app. But not all countries are the same. So for example, the US has a crap ton, like a dozen channels available at launch. Canada had one, and now we have two. And the reason for it is because unlike the US, which has had a modicum of FTC ownership, I mean, it's gone to hell since then, but originally had a bunch of FTC. Canada was like, oh, Bell, you want to own all the TV channels and the providers? Oh, Rogers, you want to own the other set of TV channels and providers? No problem. So now, like, your ISP owns half, and you'll get them if you go to them. Your other ISP, like basically the cable and the telephone company both own half the channels.
Oh my!
And like you can't get HBO on Apple channels like you can in the US because Bell has exclusive rights to it. So you have to get Crave and then add. So it's like and some countries are worse than that because they're like government owned or there's like very big regulations. So we don't have the dream yet. Like even the fake shellacked Hollywood 2D dream, where if you go too much the wrong way, you see that there's nothing behind it. But we have the infrastructure in place for it.
Yeah, and I think that's right now the tech companies and media, not media providers, but tech companies are building the infrastructure, and now we just need to get these media companies to stop being so particular about their exclusivity, so that we can have a better user experience. Because at some point, especially when you have something like YouTube being so easily accessible for so many people, and younger people are not
all the time.
And they're not so loyal to a particular show or brand. And if you stop giving that to them, they'll just say, "That's fine, I don't need it," and they'll move on. And then those big companies who are trying to hold on to these exclusive contracts are going to lose out in the end. And so they definitely need to kind of open that up and make it easier for the younger people who are already sort of used to consuming free entertainment and not worried about whether or not it's something they want to spend a bunch of time watching. Like, they're out there and they're watching anything and everything, and they're not loyal like that. So, somebody's got to make a change so they can keep their big organizations going.
I mean, I get it, because like ubiquity was a key to everyone's success. There were very few TV channels, even in the cable era, and like ESPN made a fortune. And nobody wants to lose money. But if you look at everything, the history of all media, like news is worthless now, and that's our industry. Music is practically worthless now, and that's another big industry. And I don't mean worthless, it's just there's no more scarcity. There is everything available to everyone all the time instantly. And that means any one particular piece of it is no longer valuable, because like, to your points, if one song is not available, I'll be annoyed for a second, but I'll go listen to something else. If a site I like doesn't have an article, but another site does, I'll read it. Do I really care where I read the latest news article? Not so much anymore. And television is going to be the same thing, and they're kicking and screaming. Apps are the same thing. Apps used to be $900 in a box in a computer store, and now that people think $1 is too high a price to pay for them, and there's millions of apps. There's not just 7. So I mean, it's going to hit video, and it's going to hit them hard. But I feel like them resisting now lets them not choose their destiny. It lets them like.
So what you're saying is resistance is futile.
I'd rather die. Irrelevant.
Okay, folks, we will be moving on shortly, but first, I got to tell you about our friends at Wix. You've heard about Wix. It's a way for you to create a professional website all by yourself. Wix has over 140 million people that are using the site to create their own website, and you can start and publish for free. There are more than 500 stunning templates, but you can also start from scratch if you'd like, and you can change and customize it however you want. There are also built-in SEO tools. I was just talking to someone yesterday, and she said, I got to figure out this SEO thing. I'm not sure how to do this. Well, with Wix, you don't have to worry about it. You can get found online and in search engines like Google and Bing using Wix's SEO tools. Everything is optimized for every device. So whether you're looking at it on a new purple iPhone XR Plus X275 or On your Apple Watch, which by the way does load websites from time to time, you can know that your site is going to show up how you expect it to. There's unlimited storage. You can get a custom domain. You can get email addresses if you want those. Premium apps, so much more. And if you're not a big web designer or you're not sure what to do, something that I really enjoyed about Wix was its ADI. That stands for Artificial Design Intelligence. You just pop in a few little bits of information, you upload your logo, and it drafts a color palette for you and puts together a site that it thinks you can use. If you head over to imorepodcast.com, you can see what the Wix ADI helped me build for our show. So that's imorepodcast.com is our Wix site. You out there can get started now by going to wix.com. That's wix.com/podcast to get 10% off. Once more, that's wix.com/podcast for 10% off. Thanks so much, Wix, for sponsoring this week's episode of the iMore Show. Let's talk about some more stuff. How about those new Pride watch faces? Those are pretty cool.
Oh my
right?
gosh.
Let's talk about Pride, baby.
I
Let's talk
love
about
that
you
on
and me.
Apple Watch 4, on Apple Watch Series 4, the flag waves, or I guess it ripples is more like what you can tap on it and it kind of
Depending on where you
ripples
tap,
out.
it will
Yeah.
change how it ripples. I'm like right now I'm looking around. My Apple Watch is not on my wrist and I don't know where it is. I always have my Apple Watch on, so I must have taken it off at some point and I don't know where I've sat it. But this morning, I was having trouble getting the Pride Apple Watch face to show up. And so this happened before with a different watch face. It didn't show up at first and then finally it did. What I ended up doing was restarting my Apple Watch and then force quitting my watch app on the actual phone. And then I waited for my Apple Watch to reboot and I relaunched the watch app on my phone and went into at the bottom where it's like face gallery, I think it says, and then it showed up and I was able to add it to my Apple Watch. And yeah, that I was not expecting it. Depending on where you tap on the screen, that's where it kind of does the ripply thing. And it's really lovely. There's one that offers multiple complications in the four corners. There's one that's just a plain old beautiful sort of rounded rectangle display. Renee's showing his off there. And then there's one that has stripes up and down that lets you add, you can have the time, the date, and at the bottom you can have another complication, and it's like that long complication. There we go. That's it.
That's the one I like to use.
Now this is
and did you know the more you tap it, the more wavy it gets?
like
it's really fun.
Cool. See, I like this. That's kind of why I like this face. Oh my goodness, Renee, that looks great. Because it's not just the animation that starts with it. They do something really fun, I think, with it every time. And so, yeah, I'm glad that they added a few more options here for the Pride band.
That's called Pride Analog.
Really
so the stripey one is digital.
It looks really good with my Pride band too.
Yeah, matches right along.
I'm wearing the 2018 one right now, but I also have the 2017 one. But I think that looks great.
I hope they make a 2019 one as well.
So yeah, that's actually we'll drop in a link for that too. That was something that I thought, they've done it 2 years in a row, and they might have a third one. I don't know how different you can do. One is a black band with a rainbow,
isn't it?
And one is
them at Dub.
Oh, I think so. Yeah, I think you're right, Renee. The reason why I do think they're going to do another one is because the first year, on the back of it, like on the strap, there was no labeling that. In the next year, there was, I think it says Pride 2018 or something like that. And
is that a buckle? They don't make the buckle anymore. Is that another like?
I have it on
last
mine.
Last year's was a buckle, and I don't think they offer the buckle anymore.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, it had like the metal buckle as part of the. Yeah. So they don't
loop this year. Yeah,
it's going to have to be a loop.
Ooh, that'll be nice. I would love a loop.
I would love. I love my loop. I've got a sport loop, and that's one of my favorite bands. In fact, let me
because it's yoga pants for your wrist. I'm going to keep saying it.
Yes. So right now,
Yes, that's a great way to describe it.
that's the band that I have is the Sport Loop on mine. And so I use that one all the time. So I'd love to see a Pride Sport Loop. That would be kind of fun.
Yeah.
Let's see.
My Apple Watch, my Pride bands are both kind of dirty because I wear
Already
them
got
so
her dirty
much.
pride.
Yeah.
Dirty Pride.
Oh, you're right. So I'm looking at the previous year's one, the 2017 one, and it just says woven nylon, but the one from last year actually says Pride 2018. So yeah, I think you're probably right.
It's in San Francisco typeface as well. Apple San Francisco typeface, which is really nice.
Yeah.
And now we're all this makes for great radio, but right now for
Micah
anyone
is poking his Pride band.
I'm currently poking the Pride Watch face, and it's doing some jiggles. But anywho, that is Apple's new Pride face. And if they do release another band, I imagine they'll continue what they've done. When the Apple Watch band first came out, the Pride band first came out, the very first one, at first, they weren't doing they didn't mention that they were doing donations, but shortly after it launched, a bit of text got added to the listing, and it said, hey, we'll donate a portion of proceeds to LGBTQ plus advocacy groups. And then come 2018 for the next one, they said it, right along with there. So portion of the proceeds there. So I would imagine that, if one launches again this year, we'll see that same thing. You can also you can add or remove any watch face that you do or do not want on your watch using the Apple Watch app, or by force pressing on the screen, or 3D touching on the screen, whatever it is at this point. I think it's force touch for the Apple Watch, to make adjustments to that. So pretty doggone cool, I'd say.
Yeah, it's great.
All right, let's talk about a Forbes report here. It says Apple accidentally reveals radical new iPhone upgrade.
Yeah, so I dropped this in here for us to chat about, just because this is something that Renee has actually brought up once or twice, and it's also something that I see a lot of people in that when Face ID first launched, talking about wishing they could have both. They could have either the option to use Touch ID or Face ID, or have both Touch ID and Face ID. Obviously, this is just a patent, and they never really mean anything, because either sometimes it never happens, or if it does happen, it's years down the road. But I just wanted to just talk about it for a moment. The idea that, not in the not too distant future, it's possible that the iPhone will have Face ID and Touch ID. And very specifically in this patent, the way it's described is it's a bunch of microcomputers that are pinhole sized across the screen, not just in one location, but potentially anywhere on the screen could be your biometric login. So it's kind of a neat idea. And if Apple were to do it, I think a lot of people would be really happy to be able to have an iPhone that has Face ID and Touch ID, the option of both instead of one or the other.
Yeah, so I am kind of curious. What is the event in which, what is the situation rather, in which one needs Touch ID that they can't get that same magic with Face ID? Because go ahead.
Yes, I definitely see what you're saying. That's the thing that popped up for me when I first thought about that, of why would you want one and not or why would you want both instead of just Face ID?
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing that comes to mind is if you want to be able to unlock your phone without having to pick it up and have it look at you, or have it be facing you.
Yeah.
If it's just sitting on your tabletop, and even just a simple tap could unlock it further than just, right now we have our notifications on the screen if we don't want to unlock our phone. But what if you've got your phone on your table and you do want to unlock it?
Mm-hmm.
With Touch ID, it was easy because you could press your finger on the home button and unlock your phone without having to lift it. But you couldn't just look at it. And then with Face ID, it's so easy. All you have to do is look at it. But if it's sitting on a tabletop, you kind of have to bend your face forward if you want it to actually unlock. So this idea that they're both there, I think there's going to be if it happens, it's something that there are quite a few people out there that'd be interested in it.
I think this speaks, and Renee, I am always excited to talk about this, but before we get to sort of always authenticating, I can't remember what you call it, but before we get there, I do want to say something. Like, the reason why I ask that especially is because Face ID has just been incredible for me, and continues to get better. And something that Apple has done that I really appreciate is that the company is aware that not everybody is white, and skin tones can play a role in not properly can play a role in things not working how they should. There are many times when I go to a restroom in a public place and I am unable to get the water fountain running, or I'm unable to get
That's not just you, actually. I have that
you're like, you
problems
too.
too.
The blower to get
I used
going.
to think I was a robot because I could never get
Oh,
my to
sorry,
work.
I don't want to interrupt, but I had the best story. So I was in the airport, and there's two repairmen arguing over the fountain not working, and they're putting their hands under it and it doesn't work. And this guy just puts his phone under it, like out of frustration, and the water just goes off.
No
And
way!
the guy's like, it didn't work for my hand, but now it's all over my phone.
That's
And the guy's like, why did you do that?
That's so
Like, because it wasn't working, and I wanted to show it wasn't working.
Oh my goodness. I've never put my phone under it. But speaking to that,
Yes.
I feel like Apple has been aware, not just of that, but so I have mentioned it briefly on the show, but anyone who follows me knows I got Bell's palsy. And if you don't know what that is, essentially there's one set of nerves that innervates each side of your face, and our nerve branch that then innervates the left and right side of your face. And that nerve becomes damaged after like a big bout of stress or something that can bring on a viral infection that leads to this nerve damage. So I woke up one day and I was trying to drink water, and water was just pouring out of my mouth. I was like a public fountain, and it was scary. And I'm fine, everything's great, I'm on the up and up. But for several days, I had to. Some days I had to wear an eye patch. At other times I had to wear sunglasses or my regular glasses to keep this eye, which doesn't close without a lot of effort, protected. And at night I would have to tape my eye closed, which like required all this tape. Through all of that, Face ID still worked for me. And I thought I was going to have, even with my eye patched closed, yes.
Wow,
I was
that's
worried
great.
that I was going to have, trouble with it, and I did not. And that made me very, very happy, and made me glad that, I had this. And true, I could have, if I had Touch ID, then it would have worked because my fingers were fine. But the benefit that I get from Face ID in so many different ways, particularly in winter, because my extremities get very cold, and so I do wear gloves and things like that. Face ID is wonderful, and I can, keep my hands nice and toasty and still get into my device with my long password that's there that otherwise would have been a problem. But yeah, there are times where I'll have it sitting on the desk and I'm like, can you see me? Can you see me? And that is kind of annoying. But aside from that, I really do like Face ID. But yeah, I mean, if there's a benefit to it and they can do it, then sure, why not? Now, Renee, can you please talk about what is it that you call it? Because for some ambient, yes, ambient.
Yeah, passive ambient. Yeah, so that's the thing with this. Well, first, I just want to comment once again on what an utter dumpster fire Forest Contributors Network happens to be, and how they can't get a story right without a sensational, crappy, garbage headline to save their lives. But I'll keep that to me for now.
After he shares it with everyone, I'll keep it
No,
to
because like it's
myself.
one of those things where you go through Google and it's like there's a terrible problem with iOS 10.1, a terrible problem with iOS 10.2, a terrible problem with iOS
And it's all
10.3.
Forbes.
I
Yeah.
know, and the iPhone 13 has a terrible secret. iPhone 14 has a terrible secret. Whatever.
Yeah.
The patent itself is super interesting, though. The problem with a lot of these things is people say, why can't they just do this and that? And these are the same people who complain about the price of an iPhone already. And of course, if you're throwing more biometrics in there, you're adding more money to the cost of the device. So I think it's, like they said, why can't they just keep Touch ID and add Face ID? Well, we've already seen Touch ID adds a couple $100 to the price of things. It's basically running an Apple Watch, and there's be some duplication, so it wouldn't be the total amount, but it'd still be more expensive, and you don't really need that. Where it becomes interesting is not when I can do one or the other, but when I don't need to do either. It's when both of them together can do authentication enough that I never have to actively do it myself. So it sees enough of me, or it feels enough of me, that I never have to do an overt authentication anymore. And that'll require several of these things. Like, it'll require using the motion chip to figure out my gait, so it knows if it's me walking or somebody else, or if it's moving, or if it's stationary. And it would use the Siri technology to see if it's my voice, so that if I'm the one talking to it, like a snippet of voice, a snippet of face, a snippet of fingerprint, all these things, then I no longer have to actually stop in Face ID or stop in Touch ID. My phone just says, there's this threshold of, I'm 95% sure it's Micah, so I'll just work. If it drops to 94%, I'll challenge him and say, hey, can you please prove that it's you? But otherwise, I'm just going to let him keep using his iPhone as long as he wants. And maybe if you're at home, it's a lower threshold. And if you're in an unusual place, it's a higher threshold. And all these different things, like, I always think that the goal of these devices is to stop me having to do stuff. The less I have to do, the better. And if they can take over authentication, that's great. So I think all these technologies, Apple will patent everything. Only 1 in 1,000 of them will ever be used.
Sure, yeah.
But I think these things are fantastic. I want them now, and I want them all implemented in really clever ways. Also,
so with this,
at the local host level.
With this particular patent revelation, though, the idea that there's tiny micro cameras that are scanning your fingerprint all over, to me is almost an ambient version of that, where you don't actually have to put your finger on a specific spot on your screen, but as soon as you pick up your phone, as soon as you're touching it, it's authenticating you. If that were to work as well as this idea would be, that's definitely a step in the direction of that ambient.
The only thing you give up is, like, Face ID doesn't let you just unlock your phone when it's sitting on the table, which is a downside. But Face ID can unlock your phone when it's, like, sitting up in a car holder without you touching it. Like, if you say, yo, Jimbo, open up iMessage, and iMessage requires it to be unlocked, if the camera is looking at you, it knows it's you, it unlocks. Otherwise, you'd have to reach over and touch it, which, how far away is it? All of these different things. So when you start to have them all working together, and it's like, you touched it, you're good. I saw you, you're good. I heard your voice, you're good. Like, when you're
wearing your Apple Watch, you've logged into that, you're good.
Apple Watch is weird in that right now they use iPhone to authenticate Apple Watch. So using Apple Watch to authenticate iPhone is a bit of a loop, which you'd have to figure out, because you can't have both. It's almost like, well, I trust you if you trust me. Well, I can't believe either of you now.
That's true.
Yeah, there's all sorts of things they could work out. Like, once you've authenticated your Apple Watch, maybe then it switches around. There's just details.
Yeah. These are all just kind of great things to consider as a possibility in the future.
I want it all now, Lori.
I want it all, and I want it now.
Yes.
Yesterday, as of this podcast, was Thursday, May 16th. That is the, the third Thursday? Is that correct?
It's one of them.
It was the third Thursday in May, and the third Thursday in May every year is GAAP, Global Accessibility Awareness Day. May 16, 2019 marked the 8th GAAP, and the purpose of the day was just to get everyone talking, thinking, and learning about access and inclusion for people with different disabilities. Renee, you put together a piece yesterday that sort of started with one of my favorite quotes from Tim Cook as well. When we work on making our devices accessible by the blind, I don't consider the bloody ROI. So great.
Fiery Tim Cook.
So wonderful. And, I think Apple really does put their money where their mouth is when they say that accessibility is a human right. And this piece is great. So you should definitely check that out and read about Global Accessibility Awareness Day and some of the stuff that, Apple put together for it. And what we've got right now, all the fun things you can do. And I say, like, it genuinely, there are fun things that you can do with your iPhone that are very important to people and that help them get access to their device. And I love it. I love companies thinking about this and improving their products and making them better and more accessible to people. And at the end of the day, whether you approach it from a place of, having a good heart or just being straight up Vulcan logic, it makes sense that you want to make what you do and put out into the world available to as most people as possible. And think about that. I think everybody should, take a moment to consider that, depending on what you're putting out there, who it's accessible to and who it's not. And I do want to give a mini shout out. Google announced that Android is going to get what are basically captions for everything and anything. And so it's going to be sort of built at Android level to add captions to stuff that doesn't. There are a lot of videos out there right now that don't include closed captioning. And I follow a few folks who have low or no hearing who, kind of talk about, oh, wow, there's this great new pop video out there, but I don't know what anyone is saying. And it would be great to have captions for it. And so I'm glad that that's being created. And I'm glad that companies are thinking about that as well. And yeah, if you post a photo, a lot of social media sites now give you the option to include an image description. So think about adding that. And, if you do video, do some brief research to learn how to add captions to those. Final Cut keeps making it easier and easier. It's still kind of a process I learned, but they're making it easier and easier. YouTube makes it pretty easy, and there are other services and sites out there to do so as well. Yeah, and it's nice to make sure that as many people can access the stuff that you're putting out there as possible.
And Apple, I know, if you open up the accessibility settings on your iPhone, you'll see that Apple really does take care to make accessibility features the forefront, not an afterthought. They as they redesign every operating system, it's as if the first step is how accessible is this, and then we'll make sure that it works for everybody else. And it's really great to see that level of thought that goes into, when you consider what a smartphone is, it's tactile, it's visual, and it's auditory. So anybody who doesn't have one of those three things, or more than one of those three things, you would think just would never even use a smartphone at all, because, what's the point? I'm not going to use one. But that's not true. They use them all the time, and it's just a difficult experience for them. And an iPhone, because of the accessibility features that it has, is actually a significantly smaller a hurdle to get over to still communicate and browse the internet and take pictures of yourself and all the things that you get to do that with a smartphone. And I really do think that Apple has done a great job of leading the charge and also being the role model for other companies to implement the same kind of things in their devices. I think Google's recent announcement about Android is a perfect example of that. I had spoken with someone at Google I/O a year ago, a sight impaired gentleman that said he's an Android user and he loves using Android, but he very specifically stated that it's much more difficult than using an iPhone, and that he preferred the iPhone for the accessibility features. And now we're seeing that that Google is making steps to make their devices more accessible and user-friendly to people who might not have good sight or good hearing or even good touch. So these are all steps in the right direction. And Accessibility Awareness Day is a really great way to remind all of us that we all deserve the ability to do the things that we do as easily as possible. Mm-hmm. And that means adding features that everybody can use, that some people need more than others. Just because I might not use hearing aids doesn't mean that there shouldn't be a feature on the phone that allows me to use hearing aids while using my phone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, go ahead and do check out that link. You can check out that article. I want to tell you folks now about one of my favorite companies, because they provide me with so much entertainment. I don't know what I would do if I was on the road and didn't have Audible. Listening makes us smarter, more connected people, and there's no better place to start listening to improve those things than Audible. Audible is where lots of awesome stories and lots of inspiring voices come together to give you new ways of thinking. Audible members now get more than they ever have. You can choose 3 titles every month, 1 audiobook plus 2 Audible originals that you can't hear anywhere else. Audible has really been expanding out their originals network, I guess, and there are lots of different choices there. I've found some really interesting books included in that have been a fun read. Members also have unlimited access to more than 100 audio guided fitness and meditation programs. So if you're wanting to get fit or you're wanting to check out meditation for the first time, there are hundreds of those that can help you figure out to get into the flow, so to speak. You've got bestsellers, you've got business, self-improvement, memoirs, and they're all professionally narrated by actors, authors, and motivational folks like Rachel Hollis, David Goggins, and Mel Robbins. Those last one almost rhyme. And you also get access to the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and Washington Post delivered daily to the Audible app. If you are an Audible member, I literally just learned that, folks. I didn't know I had access to those. It's all available in the convenient app where you log on at the gym, while commuting, on the go, on any device. And it does have a sort of handoff deal because you can pick up right where you left off. It syncs across all those devices. You can do free and easy audiobook exchanges, credits you roll over for a year, and a library that keeps forever. So even if you decide to cancel your Audible subscription, you can still keep your books. Start listening with a 30-day Audible trial, and your first audiobook plus 2 Audible originals are free. Visit audible.com/iMore or text iMore to 500-500. Once again, that's audible.com/iMore or text iMore, IMORE, to 500-500. I literally listened to a bajillion, thousand, trillion books on Audible. I'm not even lying. Like, I have so many books in Audible. It's how I fall asleep at night. I will listen to an audiobook and then sort of pick up where I left off the next day. So if you are looking for sort of something to help you fall asleep, or something that you can ride on long car drives with, or, when you're doing the dishes or whatever, I've consumed so many books this way, and I don't know what I would do without Audible. So thank you so much to Audible for sponsoring this week's episode of the iMore Show. It's about time to go, but let's round things off with a couple little highlights. We've got Minecraft Earth. This is Microsoft's new mobile AR game. And what are we thinking? Is this bigger and better than Pokemon Go?
I just want to know where the last, I assumed it was Earth. Like, where's it? Was the last one?
Yeah, where was it?
I didn't know.
It was on Pluto, which is a planet. I don't care what
no
you say.
celestial revisionism here.
Yeah, thanks, but no thanks, scientists. Yes, this is Minecraft Earth. I think before it was in a different world, it's this whole other planet that you went to, but now you're playing on Earth.
It was in the Terran universe, and Michelle Yeoh was the Empress.
That is exactly what was going on. So what do we think? Is this bigger than Pokemon Go?
I mean, we have to see the numbers, right?
Well, yeah, sorry. I'm asking for your prediction.
Potter?
Yeah.
Will it be bigger than Harry Potter?
I don't know, because Minecraft was huge. And Microsoft paid a lot of money for good old Minecraft, for sure.
They also paid a lot of money for Nokia.
That's fair. But I still, speaking of Lori's comment earlier, you'd mentioned that younger people are not tied to they don't have a loyalty to any specific show. And I know so many people watch, people playing video games and streaming, and Minecraft was kind of one of the first big streamed games. And so I could very easily see Minecraft Earth getting popular because of the fact that Minecraft has that brand recognition for younger folks. Like, maybe this is one of the brands that younger folks are actually loyal to.
Daddy, I want to go out to see my Minecrafts in the real world, Daddy.
Daddy, take me outside to play Minecraft. I want to play with my little piggy.
Son, I bought you $1,000 worth of Lego. No, Daddy.
Daddy, why don't you have an accent? But I do. I want to go outside and hit a knife into my piggy. No, God, we're not being violent anymore. Anyway, that is a Minecraft.
That was a Canadian accent. That was not a bad British accent. It was a bad Canadian accent.
Oh, I see. Okay. So when is it coming out?
Do they have an official release date?
I'm
Not sure they do. This was definitely just a secret little guess what's coming in the
Oh
future.
yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yep.
Yeah. So
Um,
I what you were just saying, is this going to be as popular or bigger than Pokemon Go? I think Pokemon Go was a weird anomaly that nobody thought was going to be as popular
that's
as it is,
popular, yeah.
and it blew up. And Minecraft comes from a very to like right now at this moment a very popular game that people play. So it could either be the hugest the hugest mobile game ever, or it could fall flat because people are still currently playing Minecraft. They don't need a different game. So, you know, it it's one or the other. With Pokemon Go, it was special because there were no Pokemon games accessible on mobile devices as this, and people jumped on this. And with Minecraft Earth, you can play Minecraft on your phone already. You don't have to play Minecraft Earth. So who knows? It is one of the most popular games on mobile for sure.
Well, that is that is Minecraft Earth. What's going on here? Steam Link on iPhone and iPad.
Yeah,
Finally.
I'll just quickly mention that since it's just a neat little thing. So, Steam, the organization that lets you play PC games, they have their games that are set up in there, and you can buy them and play them on your computer. And then at least a year ago, it might have even been 2 years ago, they released an app on Android that would allow you to play those PC and Mac Steam games on your Android device. And just the other day, they launched the Steam Link app for iPhone. And so now you can also play your Steam Link games on your iPhone. And I believe you don't even have to be on the same Wi-Fi network to do it, which is kind of fun. I think you can actually be, on your way to work and eating up all your cellular data while playing your PC games or your Mac games from Steam right on your iPhone or iPad. So
that is pretty neat.
Yeah,
it's very neat.
So if you play games on Steam a lot, this is probably a big deal if you have an iPhone that you can finally do that.
Cool. Well, folks, I want to thank all of you out there for listening. We have reached the end of another episode of the iMore Show. Thanks so much to Jim Metzendorf for editing the show and making us sound lovely and wonderful every week, and handling all the other stuff that he does for our podcast and other fine podcasts on Mobile Nations. We will, of course, be back next week with more. And if Georgia Dow were here, she'd tell you could possibly find her on Twitter at Georgia_Dow. You can also check out anxiety-videos.com for lots of great videos on emotional intelligence, boundary setting, depression and anxiety, getting sleep, parenting. So many cool videos there to check out. Lori Gill, if people are looking to get in touch with you online, how can they do so?
You can at me on the Twitters at Appaholic, APPAHOLIK. At Lori Gill at most of the other social things.
Beautiful. Renee Ritchie, if people are looking to get in touch with you or watch your vidges, how can they do that?
Well, what y'all can do is just go down and hit that Vidgeo player, and then the choocher will chong up and just present Vidgeo. I gotta stop watching that channel. I just feel like
are you having a stroke, Renee?
No, there's this really famous YouTube channel called AVE where there's this old miner, and he's Canadian, but nobody knows from where because you never see him. But sometimes he sounds like Winnipeg, sometimes like the Maritimes. He curses in Quebecois though, so it's really weird. And he takes it apart. Like he makes iFixit look like a bunch of clowns. He takes everything apart, drills, everything, and he's like, "This here, what the mechanical choocher makes it go up and down, tabernacle." Ha. And he's got like AVE? 1 million something subscribers. Yeah, it's called AVE.
I'm following that.
And also, like, if a bridge collapses, you'll go through like the entire mechanical process of why the bridge collapsed. It's crazy.
What? This sounds amazing.
Yeah, and he's like, but like the whole channel is like, he'll just like sit there and go, "Yeah, I was up in a northern mine with a bunch of people, and all of a sudden, one of the suitcases what started vibrating, and nobody would claim it, so we all just walked out and got on the airplane and left. Never found out whose suitcase that was. Ha!" Well, is filled with that. So, anyways, I digress. I was gonna say once, hopefully next week, Micah will hear "On Your Left" and he'll turn around and Georgia will just walk through a portal and arrive back on the show. But in the meantime, you can find me at Renee Ritchie on all the social things, imore.com/vector or YouTube/vector show. And like to have a little bit of fun each and every day.
Beautiful. If you're looking to get in touch with me, you can find me on most social things at Micah Sargent. You can also head to chihuahua.coffee. That's CHIHUA.coffee. It's got links to all the different things that I do. You can find all of our writing at various times over on iMore.com. I hope, depending on when you're listening to this, you have a great week or weekend. This has been the iMore Show. Goodbye.
Just finishing with Hockey Night in Canada.